hello, humans of the world. It's me, Ellie Krug, Ellie 2.0 Radio on lovely AM 950. How are you today? I am thrilled to be here. I am thrilled that it's Saturday, August 6th. I'm not thrilled that we are getting close to Labor Day, and you know what that means. So, all right, well, welcome to Ellie 2.0 Radio, where we talk about idealism and idealists, people who are trying to change the world for the better. And boy, do we have a great show for you today. The big interview is with an idealist from Rotary International, a service organization that I also happen to belong to. And then, of course, in my C block, I'll talk about my work as an idealist. But as we almost always do, let us begin with this week's featured idealist. And to do that, let me share a quick story. Now, as many of you know, I live out in Victoria. It's a town of, at this point, about 12 or 13,000 in Carver County. So, as I joke, it's on the edge of the prairie. I live on the edge of the prairie, and yesterday I got on my bike and I took a bike ride. I went 1-point-something mile, and I hit dirt road, gravel road, and all there were around me were farms, and I absolutely loved it. Corn and soybeans and hay. What a great bike ride. Okay, now, I also happen to live in the next town. The next town over happens to be Chaska, which last weekend had a 3-day-long celebration called Chaska River City Days, which was a combination of artist booths, some live music, food trucks and tents, which includes a beer tent, of course, and vendors' booths. Now, I rode my bike down there last Saturday night at about 6 in the evening, and I met with a Rotary friend. This is like a Rotary show here, who was working the Rotary beer and wine tent. And I then grabbed a burger and sat at a picnic table listening to music, eating the burger. You know, I know this is probably a little bit too much more detail than what you need, but as I sat at the picnic table, a young woman, she was maybe late 20s, she was pushing a baby carriage, stroller, maybe had a 1-year-old baby in the stroller. She came walking by. And she stopped, looked around. It looked as if she was like looking for some place to sit. And I motioned for her to come sit across from me on the picnic table. Yeah, I am that kind of person most of the time. We started to get to know each other a bit, and she related that she was a single mom who worked at a chain restaurant as a server, something that she had been doing for 3 years. It was, she works about 30 hours a week, which means she's got no benefits. And then she related that she actually would like to be a carpenter. Her father apparently did some carpentry work. He sounded like he was retired, but he also did some projects for people. And she had helped him in the past with some of the projects. You know, I told her that the building trades were looking to bring more women and people of color. The woman also happened to be black. The building trades want more women and people of color in their ranks. And she had not heard that. And so I pulled up my phone and Googled the local Carpenters Union apprenticeship program and their website page. I showed it to her. And I urged her, go investigate this. Investigate it. And she was appreciative. I also happened to give her my card and told her to contact me if she ever needed anything. Now, I tell you this story, this way too long story, because this week's featured idealist is a woman and her organization that's aimed at helping women get into the construction trades. Okay? And what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a very quick break, okay? And I'm going to come back and tell you about this woman and her organization. You'll like this story. You will like it, okay? All right, but back in a second. Thanks. And we're back. Ellie 2.0 Radio. Okay, so before we took the break, I was telling you about my meeting with a random meeting with a young woman mom, a single mom, who had an interest in getting into the construction trades. So today, as I'm preparing for the show, I went to one of my standbys where I try and find idealists. By the way, there's no secret about it. I love going to the CNN Heroes website. And it turns out there's an idealist by the name of Nora Spencer who has created an organization called Hope Renovations, which was highlighted by CNN on May 19th in a piece written by Kathleen Toner. The title of the piece is, quote, "The Power of DIY, Do It Yourself. This CNN hero helps women build new lives by training them for construction careers," unquote. And I'm like, oh, this is quite interesting. And as the CNN story related, Nora Spencer grew up in a family where men did the home repairs and small improvements. It sounded like a very traditional, something's broken, well, your dad or your brother's going to take care of it. Later, when Nora married, she decided to learn how to do some renovations on her own. As she explained, she said she had very expensive taste and couldn't afford those renovations if they had to pay somebody to do it. She bought tools and experimented with the help of YouTube videos. Soon she was doing side jobs where she was in the presence of professional contractors who, were willing to show her the tricks of the trade. And as she did that, the one thing that struck her was that there were no other women at the job site. And it struck her that maybe she could change that. Now, along the way, Nora also got her degree in social work at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. She's from a town just outside of Chapel Hill. And as she was interviewing and working as an intern at a women's shelter, Nora suggested that the women get into the building trades as a way to transform their lives. But the women, time and again, said it seemed impossible to get in the building trades because they didn't even have the basic skills. Now, all of this got our idealist, Nora Spencer, thinking. And in the summer of 2020, as the pandemic was raging, Nora Spencer launched Hope Renovations, a nonprofit with the goal of giving women and non-binary humans basic skill sets to enter the construction trades. Her program uses a teaching curriculum developed by the National Center for Construction Research and Education that teaches about safety, first aid, construction math and drawings, basic carpentry, and tool use. This is a 10-week course for women. And after that, the students, women and non-binary people, can take a 6-week Construction 101 Building Fundamentals course where students learn to do framing, drywall hanging, and basic plumbing and electrical. I got to tell you, I'd like to take this course. Even more, Hope Renovations provides support, including a weekly stipend for childcare and transportation to ensure that the students, remember, women and non-binary people, have no barriers to completing the courses. Then Nora's nonprofit helps the students network with local trades, provides interviewing skill sets, resume building, that type of thing, and one-on-one coaching to students so that they can, be prepared for what it takes to work in the building trades. This is way more than just come, do your time in a classroom and there you're on your way. To provide practical experience and to further the idealistic mission of Hope Renovations, students go into the homes of elderly residents to build ramps or railings or other things that will help people to stay in their homes as they age. It's called aging in place. It's a phrase I don't know if I'd heard before. I read about it on the website for Hope Renovations. And there's a huge demand for this kind of work, going into people's homes, particularly of the elderly, helping adapt the house so that they don't have to move out of it. There's a huge demand for it. And the problem is all the construction trades are so busy, okay? Try and get a hold of somebody. And so they're filling a niche here that's too small for jobs that are too small for the big contractors. As for metrics, all right, since 2021, remember, they've only been around 2 years. Since 2021, Hope Renovations has graduated 41 people, of which 30 are still in the construction trades. That's a pretty good statistic. All the jobs that the grads are working pay more than $15 an hour. Now remember, 15 is the new, it's the new, minimum wage in many places. Don't get me started at how we've not changed the minimum wage in a decade and a half, maybe 2 decades. I don't know. It's a long time. And what Hope Renovations has also done is they've helped nearly 80 people aged 55 and above with renovations to keep them in their homes. Think about this. This is a phenomenal concept. Once again, Nora Spencer and Hope Renovations are an example of one person's determination to make a difference in the world by thinking and acting outside the box. I urge you to go to the Hope Renovations website. Just type in hoperenovations.org, okay? Hope, H-O-P-E, renovations with an S.org, and read about the great work that Nora Spencer and her colleagues are doing. They have a wish list, too. If you go there, they have a wish list. Like they're looking for things like everything from safety goggles to saw blades that you can buy for them. You get them shipped to the facility, okay? And they'll thank you. They'll send you a thank you for doing that. Wonderful, wonderful concept. Very idealistic and making a difference, positive difference in the lives of women and non-binary people who otherwise would not have the opportunity to bootstrap themselves from one place to another big place on the economic ladder. Okay. All right. Next up is the big interview with Lloyd Campbell of Rotary International. Stay tuned. You're going to love listening to listening to Lloyd. He is very, very charming. We'll be back in a second. And we're back. Ellie 2.0 Radio on lovely AM 950. Go, do me that favor and go check out hoperenovations.org. Please do that. It's a wonderful organization to know about, created by a wonderful idealist. And speaking of idealists, for the big interview, as I promised, okay, we have Lloyd Campbell, who is the district governor for District 5950 of Rotary International. Lloyd, welcome to Ellie 2.0 Radio.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
I'm thrilled to have you here. We should also make sure that we note that you are the newly installed district governor. Okay, and we're thrilled to have you on the show. First, we need to make sure my listeners remember, because I have talked about being a Rotarian before, that I am a Rotary member. I actually happen to be a member of a Rotary that's part of District 5950. And Lloyd, first of all...
we love to have you as a Rotarian, too.
Well,
okay.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay. All right. But tell us first a little bit about you. What's your regular profession, and how long have you been involved with Rotary?
Oh, great. My regular profession is that I'm retired. And I've been in Rotary now for about a little more than 10 years. And let me just give you a little bit about my background and some of the things that has, happened to me. Is that I'm a very lucky person, because my wife is a physician, and she's 100% behind my service activities. And she supports me 100%. And my 2 boys are also Rotarians. So 10 years ago, we were offered this opportunity to come to Glenwood, Minnesota, which is, for people who don't know, is in the western part of the state. It's about 2.5 hours away from here. And when we were there, the town is about 2,500 people. So when we got there, I think we were there a couple weeks. A person approached me and said, "Would you love to have lunch with me?" And I said, "Free food? Sure." And that's when I was introduced to Rotary, and just fell in love with the concept and the idea of what Rotary is all about. For me, it started with, I need to look on the internet to see what this is all about. Unfortunately, the Glenwood Club didn't have a website or a bulletin, so electronic bulletin. So I had to go to the international website. And wow, the first thing I saw was different people from around the world, people of color, women involved, young people, and I said, yeah, this is what I need.
Yeah, well, that was not Glenwood. That's what Rotary. That was Rotary International.
That was Rotary International. And I always tell people now that when I talk about Rotary, is that I was tricked into becoming a Rotarian because that's what I thought that club was going to be like. So, I went to the meeting. But I met some extraordinary people. I met the mayor of the city and a variety of other people. And, for a new person in town, it was an opportunity for me to network with some of those folks and get to know them. So that was my first picture of Rotary. My experience in Rotary has been sort of up and down, if you sort of look at it. There was an opportunity where I actually went to a district conference and walked up to a table, extended my hand to several people, and they said, welcome, hello, hello. Extended to one person, and he would not shake my hand, and he just simply said, you would not be part of my club. That was not that unexpected because simply I'm from Arkansas. I've heard worse. So
well, and because this is radio, we should let our listeners know you are black.
Oh yeah, usually when I'm in front of people getting ready to do a presentation, the first thing I would say is, "Here's the elephant in the room." For people who don't know, I'm black. So that didn't bother me that he said that I wouldn't be part of his club. What bothered me was that the other 5 people who were sitting at the table didn't speak up, didn't say a word, which gave legs to the idea that maybe Rotary is an exclusive organization, or maybe there's a certain type of person that belongs to Rotary, or that they feel comfortable in Rotary. I didn't get that from Glenwood. Glenwood was a very opening type of place. Now, I can't say it was 100% that way,
right,
but most of the people there were very nice, and most of the people I've met in Rotary were very nice. But there's a few, at that time that said, "Yeah, you don't belong in Rotary."
Well, I want to, we're going to tell everybody what Rotary is all about in a second.
Okay.
But you and I have that in common, okay? Because you were, I'm going to guess, the first in Glenwood, right?
Yeah, our family is the only black family in Glenwood.
Okay.
Okay.
And me as a transgender person,
mm-hmm.
There are more and more trans people showing up, but Rotary International as a whole, I think, has no more than 50 transgender people that are members of Rotary International. So we have that in common about meeting people and wondering, what are they thinking? Where am I on their acceptance curve, right? That kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. When we look at the statistics of why people actually leave Rotary, it's because they didn't feel comfortable. Right. And that's unacceptable to me. Rotary on paper, it's a perfect organization. They preach diversity, integrity, leadership, all those skill sets that should say when you come together, we should be an active group. And one of the campaigns we're doing this year is we want to be people of action.
Okay, hold on now.
Okay,
we've been talking.
You're getting me excited.
We've been talking about 7 minutes, and we haven't really told everyone what Rotary is. So first of all, for people who know nothing about Rotary, when you drive into towns, and they've got the signs that say, "Welcome to Smithville." Right? And they've got the churches, named there, and then you can see the logo for the Lions, which is a big L, and other organizations. Rotary usually has a presence, and it's what I call the wagon wheel.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. And Rotary is a service organization. That's what it's intended to do, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Basically it's a membership organization that provides outstanding service. When you see our wheel, what it actually says is when we started, our organization, Paul Harris, 1905, February the 23rd, we used to rotate the meetings around town in Chicago. So that's why they even got the name Rotary. So that wheel that you see when you go into town symbolizes Rotary and our birth,
right,
why we're the way we are.
And Rotary, and when we talk about service, mm-hmm. it's not only, and we can talk about local service, but it's international service. I mean, Rotary took on, as an organization, the eradication of polio.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Raised, is it over $1 billion?
Yes, easily over $1 billion. And the interesting thing about that, it was a ground up operation. And that's what Rotary is. We look at our members as the brains of the organization. It started in the Philippines with a small club, and now it has morphed to a world eradication effort. Right now in Afghanistan and Pakistan are only two countries that we're having some difficulties eradicating the disease,
and
but we're working hard there.
Yeah. And that was a lot of that's because of the war.
Yes. Yes.
Although we just got a case of polio diagnosed in Ohio or Pennsylvania recently, and so that's not good.
Right.
Okay, but so Rotary meets weekly, right?
Yes.
And you pay a membership fee, but they have historically a lot of people in prominent positions within the community, attorneys, doctors, well, not doctors necessarily because they can't make the meetings so often, but bankers, other people from those kinds of quote unquote respected positions. And then clubs take on various projects, locally. Mm-hmm. For example, I'm part of the club for the City of Lakes, and which is in downtown Minneapolis, and we took on reading literacy. And bought 10,000 books to donate to libraries, school libraries within Minneapolis, and stuff like that. Right? And
absolutely. So for the people who could see me on radio or can't see me on radio, I'm shaking my head going, yes, yes, yes. Oh, you're absolutely right. But the thing about Rotary is, and the message I want to get out, is that Rotary is in transition. We are an organization, when we initially started, diversity was at our core values. It's one of our core missions that we have to do. Paul Harris said, we can't survive unless we diverse our membership. Now, today, that means that we have to reach out in different communities and let them know exactly what Rotary is all about. And if we don't, we are actually sticking a dagger in our own heart. So when you talk about the makeup of Rotary being lawyers and big professionals, but we also include people who are interested in service.
Anybody. That's exactly right.
If they have a heart for service, then we want you in Rotary. And Rotary, for instance, spans from high school in our Interact clubs, Rotaract for young professionals, to Rotary. So, I hate to say it, from high school to
grave. Don't.
To my age, but so it's opening a gap, I guess, in a sense that we want to look for people who really want to get involved in service. Yeah.
And one of the things I love about Rotary is it has kind of a very short constitution. There are four things. If you're a Rotarian, it's called the four-way test.
Yes.
It's about the work that Rotary does. Mm-hmm. If I talk about it too much, I get a little emotional because it's a wonderful test. What are the 4 points? Lloyd?
Yeah, you will have to ask me to look up those 4 points because, of course.
Is it the truth? Is number one?
The truth is always number one.
Yep.
Is it fair to all concerns? Now, we use those two things when we make decisions. Every time we have a board meeting, every time a decision we make, we say, is this fair to all concerned?
Right. And number 3 is, will it build goodwill and better
friendships?
Okay. And number 4?
Would it be beneficial to all concerned?
So those 4 points, the four-way test, my shtick about that is, can you imagine if we actually ran the country, on those 4 points?
Yes.
Okay. Can you imagine if we just said, this as a country, this is going to be the way that we're going to operate? And then if so, we would have a whole different country.
Yes. I mean, if you just go by the first one, is it the truth? How the world would change.
So, all right. But let's talk about, the efforts to make Rotary more diverse.
Okay.
Okay. Your I mean, historically, as we've already alluded to, there have been challenges for Rotary. I mean, until the late 80s, and a Supreme Court decision, Rotary didn't let women in. It was only male-oriented. So
Right.
Rotary has moved, and now female membership is somewhere in the, 30 to 40% range?
Yeah, and here in Minneapolis, it's 33% of our clubs are female. Our goal is to internationally to be at 30 by the end of the year, and the next step is 50%. So we want, but the reality is we want our clubs to reflect their communities.
Right.
I think in every community, either women out percentage-wise larger than male, or even with male. So, that's a hard hurdle to. It appears to us to do, but it's interesting too. I've been lucky enough to sponsor certain women into our club, and they've also left too. And I've had the opportunity to interview them because they've been personal friends, and it boils down to they didn't feel comfortable. So one of the things that Rotary is doing now, we have courses on DEI and microaggression, how you talk with people. Rotary overall are good people.
Oh,
but yeah,
absolutely.
So, but sometimes the jokes we tell, the things and how we position some of the things we say offend people. And sometimes folks don't speak up and say, hey, you can't say that. You shouldn't say that to me. But it's a learning process. So a lot of times people look at Rotary as an aircraft carrier. It takes a long time to turn around. But what we're trying to do now is to educate our members for instance, in the simple fact of microaggression, so that they will know, hey, I shouldn't say that. I've been in several situations where someone would stand up and tell a joke, and I'm saying, he didn't really say that, did he? He didn't mean to really say that. Right. And you know the person, and you know they're a good person, but
And a lot of it comes down to education. That people just, I mean, Lloyd, you and I are different because we've gotten DEI training. We've gotten multiple of those kinds of trainings, and of course, I go out and do that work. Mm-hmm. The vast majority of people don't know what it is. They've never gone through it, and of course, now we're battling a culture war where people are, good luck in Florida with Rotary trying to do DEI training, okay? I mean, because
there's a couple other states too, but I won't mention.
But it's the pushback from anything that makes people uncomfortable, we don't want to talk about, And Rotary also historically has this challenge around, well, that's a political topic. We don't want to have political topics here at Rotary, and we have, we should let everybody know, it's a service club. People get together, it's networking, it's social, plus every meeting there's a speaker. Right. Somebody comes in, talks in the community about this or that. I mean, at City of Lakes, we've had a chef come in and talk about his award-winning restaurant. We've had people come in and talk about, the mining process up in, the Northwoods. And, it's just very varied, different things and it's very educational for people, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I think one of the things that we don't want people to forget is that Rotary is fun. When people hear about all the serious stuff we do, but I always look at it as I'm going to meet some friends and I'm going to have fun, and I'm also going to do service in my community or international. So it's important that we have fun and that we give a value to our members, because you're right, we're paying dues. One of my early experiences or thoughts about Rotary when I first joined, because I was, sitting in the back of the room, small area. It was one of those days nobody was really talking to me, or we really wasn't having a conversation. And I'm sitting back saying, I'm paying for this, and normally if I'm volunteering, it's free, but I'm actually paying for this. I should be getting something out of this. Thank goodness the speaker that day was our foundation chairperson. He actually drove out to Glenwood to tell us about our foundation. And our foundation is always say it's a special thing of Rotary. I joke about it sometimes. I say that's the fertilizer that makes Rotary grow, but it's actually the truth, because each dollar we give to our foundation goes to the foundation for 3 years, then it comes back to us, and they match that money with from 2 to 3 times, up to 5 times, for a project. So I take $1, it comes back as $5, and it can be sent to a project or be part of a project that can make a difference in the world.
Right.
You know, when we look at our vision statements, the last 3 parts, the last 3 words talks about a change, global change. It talks about change in the community. But the thing that strikes me is the last part, is the change in ourselves. When we're talking about doing something like eradicating polio, you know, if I'm sitting there just one person, I'm saying, oh, my goodness, how can I do that? But if you have that mindset, and that's what 99% of Rotarians have, is that I can make a difference, then you can make a difference in your community and also the world.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So we've got just a couple of minutes left, Lloyd. If, let's say, and I know we have people listening right now who want to volunteer, who want to give up their time, all right? You don't have to be retired to do that. I mean, the meetings, you know, the meetings are 1 hour a week, and then you get to pick what you want to do for service. What would you say to people who are listening right now, men or women, young or old, different skin colors, different socioeconomic standing?
Oh, absolutely.
What would you say to them about?
I would say join Rotary. Rotary, I wouldn't say it's a bad rep. You said only 2 minutes left. You know how to talk. But the reality is Rotary is a very flexible organization. We have clubs that meet only online, and they record their meetings so that you can be, that's a 24/7 club, so you can see the recording and be involved in that. We have clubs that are a hybrid in a sense that the meeting can be live, you can be there in person, or because, you know, changing your schedule or something, you can watch it on live or on Zoom.
Right.
So we're a very flexible organization. We have cause-based clubs that focus on certain activities and stuff. So if you have a particular interest, we have a club for it. We have over 70 clubs here in our district. So, and I always said it's important that you match yourself up with that right club, and the sky's the limit.
And if they want to find out more about Rotary, where should they go?
Our district website, which is District 5950. I had to think about that, and I shouldn't have. Rotary.org.
Okay.
And they go to that district website, and they will see the information.
Or they can just Google my local Rotary chapter,
yes.
right? And,
yes.
And that will come up,
yes.
right?
Yes.
And Lloyd, I just want to tell you, as a Rotarian, okay, I am thrilled. I am absolutely thrilled that you are district governor for this year, okay?
Well, thank you. And I'm excited to be district governor. When before I became president of my club, this is what I wanted to do. I felt like this was my mission, to come in and show Rotary through my eyes. And I hope that I have an impact this year doing just that.
Well, I think you will. I mean, you are talking about the important things that Rotary needs to talk about change, about diversity, about inclusion, about making everybody feel as if they belong, as if they
Absolutely.
matter. All of those things are incredibly important. You know, and with the 4-way test, I think Rotary has such potential to be a force for change within our communities.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you for having me on your show. This has been this is my first time on radio, so this has been an interesting experience, and it's been enjoyable. Thank you.
Well, Lloyd, you seem like a natural. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Oh, no.
All right. Well, listen, listeners, we've been speaking with Lloyd Campbell, who is the district governor for District 5950 of Rotary International. I bet you there is a Rotary Club in your town if you just go check it out. Okay. Please consider Rotary. It is, I can tell you, a great organization. Lloyd Campbell, thanks for being on Ellie 2.0 Radio.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, listeners, we'll be back. We'll do my C block where I'll talk about my work as an idealist. Thanks.
I looked at you and how long till my soul gets it right? Will any human being ever reach that kind of light? I
And I'm back. Please check out Rotary. It is a very, very worthwhile organization. I mean, and there are other great service organizations out there as well. The Lions, they do great work. The Optimists, they do great work. But Rotary, check them out. They are well worth it. Worth at least checking out. Go to one of their meetings. All right, C Block. Talk about my work. And this C Block is going to be with a tinge of, not a tinge, it's going to be with a great deal of sadness, actually. So many of you know that in addition to doing this, and in addition to going across North America training on diversity, equity, and inclusion, I'm also a writer. I have a book out there. I write for Minnesota Women's Press, not as much as I want, but that may be changing. And for a decade plus, I think total of, for a decade, I was writing for Lavender Magazine. Once a month for the most part. Ever since the summer of 2012, my column came out, Skirting the Issues, where I wrote about navigating the world as a transgender woman, often about the fact that my voice doesn't match my appearance, and some of the challenges as well as some of the joys. One of my very, very favorite columns I've ever wrote for Lavender is titled Hope, which is about an experience I had in San Francisco, where I literally gave hope to a woman who started crying, and I took her into my arms after she'd gone through one of my trainings. I really, really loved writing for Lavender. But now I'm speaking in the past tense because as of last week, I resigned from Lavender. Let me just tell you, there are phenomenal, fantastic people at Lavender. Okay? It is it's a high-quality magazine with high-quality people who are supportive of Ellie Krug. And all, they just do great work. However, the publisher, the owner of the magazine, has made it clear that no longer can any columnist for Lavender write about anything, quote-unquote, political. And a column that was cited by him, apparently, as well as by an outside conservative group, that attacked my writing. Column was about where I wrote about protecting transgender and non-binary and LGBT, lesbian, gay, and bisexual kids. About protecting them from what's going on, from being marginalized, from being bullied. I wrote about that. I also wrote about some of the things that are going on in America, like states, like at this point, 20 states passing laws to ban transgender kids from participating in sports from kindergarten all the way through college senior year in public universities and schools. I wrote that column as I wrote other columns, making my voice heard and urging people to act to protect not only the kids, but anyone who is other in our society. And then, of course, I wrote about other things like riding my bike and, about my dog Jack and all that stuff. But apparently, Lavender no longer is going to talk about those kinds of things. Instead, it's going to be a life and leisure magazine talking about vacation getaways or the good restaurant that you could go to. The publisher of the magazine is gay. I don't think that's a secret. And my approach here my take on all of this is, how can you be the leading LGBTQ plus owned and focused publication in the Midwest and not talk about what's going on negatively affecting LGBTQ plus people? How can you do that? And so I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to write about my favorite restaurant. Okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to write about some trip I'd like to take. And let me just tell you how wonderful the hotel was. I'm not going to do that. Not when, in America, right now, LGBTQ plus people, but particularly the kids and the youth, are at risk, great risk. I mean, so I tendered my resignation. There were other writers who also tendered their resignation, including a protege of mine, phenomenal writer, Chris Hinze, Hinze, who I adore and who's a much better writer than me. He quit as well. And at least one other writer quit. I am so saddened by this. I am incredibly saddened by it. I love Lavender Magazine. I love the people who put that out twice a month. But I will not be muzzled. It's just not going to happen. I'm kind and gentle, compassionate, but I'm not going to go quietly without trying to protect those who lack voices. Bobby Kennedy would demand that of me, as well as Dr. King. Not that I'm anywhere close to either of them. But they are my models, and I know what they would want me to do. Okay, so let me thank you for listening to that, all right? By all means, go and still get Lavender if you want, by all means, but understand when you read it, okay? Understand what is not showing up in that magazine. Okay, well, listen, a big thanks to my producer, Patrick, who's done a great job today. He had to do a little bit of joggling. I don't know if that's even a word. And to you, my listeners, thank you for tuning in every month, or every week. Next week, I don't know what I'm doing for sure, whether it's going to be live or not. We'll see. I don't know whether I'm even going to have a guest. I got a guest lined up, but they're got COVID. So we'll get it figured out. In the meantime, will you do me this favor? Will you go out and do something to make the world better? Will you? All right. Take care. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.